Welcome to LIVEDAF, your online Daf Yomi Shiur.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Shabbos Daf Nun Vav, where Nun Hayim and Beis at the last line. It says the Gemara, Omar of Shmuel Menachmeni, Omar of Jainison. Now the Gemara here will continue our discussion regarding several individuals, amongst them great tzaddikim, who it appears from the Psukim in Tanakh that they committed grave sins. The Gemara tells us it's not necessarily so. Not necessarily we're meant to take those words literally. Sometimes the Torah regards a great tzaddik as though he committed a great avera, because on his level, even a minor infraction is regarded as a great avera, but it's not necessarily meant to be taken literally. Begins the Gemara, Omar of Shmuel Merachmeni, Omar of Yenison. Let's begin with the sons of Shmuel. Kol Omer b'nei Shmuel chatu, one who maintains that the sons of Shmuel transgressed, did an avera. Rashi says, this is the first line of Rashi, b'nei Shmuel chatu b'mekach sheichet, by taking bribery, sheichet v'atoyas din, and as a result, swaying the judgment, the verdict of the din. One who thinks that they indeed were guilty of this infraction of taking sheikhad, heinoi elo toya, he's simply making a mistake. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Vahi ki zokin Shmuel, when Shmuel got older, ubanav lo yalochu b'drachav, so his sons did not follow in his footsteps. Says the Gemara, okay, they weren't on the same level as Shmuel, but they didn't follow in his footsteps. They weren't as righteous as he was. But nevertheless, but certainly they did not commit the averos. They did not take the sheikhad. If so, elamani mekayim. If so, how do we understand the pasuk which says vayitu achrei batza, that they indeed they turned after batza, they turned after financial gain, which appears to be referring to taking bribery and swaying a din. Says Gemara, no, it's not referring to taking sheichat. Rather, shalai asu kamase avim, they didn't follow in the same manner as their father as Shmuel. They sought some sort of financial gain, but it wasn't for the purpose of bribery, of being matadin, of swaying the verdict of the din. Certainly not. In what way didn't they follow completely there in their father's footsteps? Says the Gemara as follows: Shehaya Shmuel HaTzadik. Shmuel HaTzadik, their father, he used to do as follows: Mechazer b'chol mekayim Yisrael. He would make the rounds amongst Klal Yisrael in all their places. V'don oisam v'reim, would conduct din Torah, court cases, litigations in their locations, in their cities. So he would provide mobile court case services. Shenemar, as it says, B'holach midei shana b'shana, every year he would go ahead and make the rounds. V'savav Beisel, v'Gilgal, v'Mitzpah, in all these locations, v'Shafat es Yisrael, and he would judge Klal Yisrael in their locations. He wouldn't trouble them to come to him. V'heim lo esukein, but his sons didn't follow in this manner. Ela yashuv bareim, they would stay in their cities. And what would they do it for? What was the purpose? To get some sort of financial gain as a result. Kedei laharbois, to increase schar l'chazanei, and to increase the salary and financial gain for their chazaneim, for the assistants of the courts, ula seifreim, and for the scribes of their courts. So they conduct themselves in this manner in order to increase they sought some financial gain as a result of conducting themselves in this manner. So this is what this pasuk was referring to. Vayitu achrei habatza, they sought some sort of financial gain. So it's a minor, relatively minor infraction, but certainly not sheikhad, accepting bribery and swaying a verdict of a din. Says Markit Tanoi, actually this is a machlekes Tanoim, whether or not they took something inappropriate which resulted in hatoyas din, in swaying of a verdict. The Brayta says as follows: Vayitu achrei habatza, so they followed the financial gain, the money. V'Ramei Omer, they didn't actually take something inappropriate. What does it mean? Chelkom sholo b'fiyim, they were Leviim, so the Ma'aserishan to which they were entitled to, they actually demanded it. They asked for it. And as a result, says Rashi, they received a great portion of Ma'aserishan and deprived the other paupers of getting, because they exerted pressure on the fact that they asked for it. It pressured the farmers to actually give it to them, and thus they deprived the aniyim of getting an appropriate amount of Ma'aser Rishon. So this was their infraction. Chelkom shel b'fiem. They asked for their portion of Ma'aser Rishon. They expressed their request, their she'ela, to the farmers so that they be given their Ma'aser Rishon. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Melai hitiu al balabatim. What does it mean by hitu achei habatza? It means that they invested with businessmen, and the balabatim would be Isaac in their schera, would go ahead and conduct business and give the returns, the financial returns, the interest to the Bnei Shmuel. So indeed, according to Rabbi Yehuda's view, this was considered somewhat like Mekach Sheichad and Hatoyas Din, because the fact that they received direct financial gain from the businessmen who invested on their behalf, they troubled themselves on their behalf and gave them interest and returns on their investment, inevitably the hearts of Bnei Shmuel was swayed as a result of this, and when they would come to litigate in front of them, they would certainly be affected by this sheichad, and the din would be swayed accordingly. Rabbi Akiva Omer as well, that they took something inappropriate. Kupa Yesera Shel Mas Notla B'Zroya. They took extra, more than they were entitled of Ma'aser Rishon. So Kupa Yesera Shel Ma'aser, an extra amount, an extra basket of Ma'aser, they took Notla B'Zroya, they forcefully took. Rabbi Yisrael Matanais Notla B'Zroya, they took the Matnais Kahuna, referring to the portions of the animal meant to be given to a kohen, the zroya, the forearm, the chayayim, the cheek, the keva, one of the insides of the behema, meant to be given to a kohen. They weren't kohanim. Nevertheless, they took and they forced the owners to give it to them. So we have a machlekes. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Yossi, they took something inappropriate. They took something which would affect their din Torah. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the fact that they took this interest from the businessmen who invested on their behalf, it influenced, it swayed their judgment. According to Rabbi Akiva, they took something inappropriate. According to Rabbi Yossi, they also took something inappropriate for them. However, according to Rabbi Meir, it was simply their Ma'aser Rishon, to which they were entitled, that they took. The problem was that they asked for it. So in actuality, they didn't actually take something inappropriate. And he holds that there was no concept of sheichad, of bribery, and that concurs with the Gemara earlier, that the infraction was simply the fact that they didn't make their rounds, they compelled the Klal Yisrael to come to them to conduct their din Torah for the purpose of financial gain for their assistants and their scribes. So in summary, we learned regarding Bnei Shmuel, the pasuk says, Vayitu, achrei habatza, they were swayed towards financial gain. They followed the money. We have two approaches here, two schools of thought. One approach is, no, they did not actually take sheichad, lo chatu. They didn't actually take bribery and have their din, have their judgment swayed as a result. So one pshat is, Vayitu achrei habatza, they sought financial gain by conducting their judgment in their locations. By doing so, they increased the financial gain of their assistants and scribes. According to Meir, it was simply that they requested their chelik of Ma'aser Rishon. So apparently it was something inappropriate, but nevertheless it wasn't to the extent of a bribery or swaying the verdict of a din. According to the other shittas, yes, they were chayte in a manner which resulted in their verdict being swayed. Either they took the interest from the balabatim who invested for them, either they took more than they were entitled to of Ma'aser Rishon, or they took the matanis, the zroya, the l'chayayim, the keva, the portion of the animal which they were not entitled to. Continues the Gemara regarding David HaMelech. Omar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, Omar V'Yenis. Kol ha'omer David chata, whoever maintains that David HaMelech committed the sin of having relations with Bathsheba, who was Eshes Ish, one who maintains that he did znus with an Eshes Ish, Einai Ela Toya, he's making a mistake. Because it wasn't actually true. It was not znus with an Eshes Ish. Shnemar, as it says in the pasuk, Vayhi David l'chol drach of maskel Hashem imay. David, in all his ways, was very full of understanding. Hashem imay, Hashem was with him. Hashem accompanied him. Says the more efshar, Chet bal yadeh. How can you maintain? How can you suggest that he was guilty of doing znus? And the Shechina should accompany him. So it can't be so. It can't be that he did znus. The Gemara will tell us that he lived with Bathsheba after she was already divorced, after she had already received her get, her bill of divorce from her husband, Uriah Chiti. Says the Gemara, if that's the case, that he was never chayte elamani mekayim. So how do I understand the following pasuk? The pasuk criticizes David HaMelech as follows: Madua bazisas dvar Hashem. Why did you degrade the word of Hashem? Lasis hara, to do something bad, to do ra. Apparently he did do ra. And the pasuk continues there regarding Bathsheba. So apparently the pasuk is alluding to the chet with Bathsheba. Says the Gemara, he didn't actually do it. Shebikesh lasis. He intended on doing it. But in actuality, it never took place. Because he only was with her after she received her get and she was no longer considered to be Uriah Chiti's wife. Amarav. Rebbe, the Osimi David, Rav says as follows: Rabbi Danasi, who was the descendant of David HaMelech, Mahapich v'darish b'schosi de David. He sought to expound and to darshan and to present David HaMelech in a positive light, that he actually never committed the chet of znus. So Rebbe interprets this pasuk as follows: Madua bazisa ezvar Hashem. Why were you mavaza? Why did you degrade the word of Hashem? Lasa sarah, to do ra. Says Rebbe Omer, Mishuna Razu, it's very different. We find that this description of doing bad is very different than when the Torah universally describes the wickedness done by an individual. Why? Mishuna Razu, Mikol Ra Shabbatorah. It's different than all the other rights we find in the Torah. It's different in the way it's written, in the way it's read. Why? Shekol Ra Shabbatorah. Whenever we find the Torah describing somebody doing ra, it says ksiv buhu vayas. It says that they did something wrong. Vayas, he did something. He did ra. V'kan ksiv lasis. Here it really says madua bazisas v'Hashem lasis, to do. Apparently, he's speaking about something which he really intended on doing. Shebikesh lasis le'asa. He had the desire to do it, but in reality, he didn't do the aver. The pasuk continues. This is the same pasuk that we started learning. Madua bazisas v'Hashem. The pasuk continues. Es Uriah Chiti hikisa b'charav. So Uriah Chiti was the husband of Bathsheba. You struck him with a sword. You killed him. So the pasuk criticizes him on this account. Says the Gemara, what was the infraction here? What was the misdeed? Now Uriah was a murdered b'malchus. He exhibited a rebellious attitude towards David HaMelech, so he was deserving of misa. Nevertheless, the pasuk says, did something inappropriate. You should have taken him to the Bezdin, to the Sanhedrin, to judge him there and determine whether indeed he's guilty. As the Mashal points out, David HaMelech should have taken him to Sanhedrin to remove any impression of any personal interest here. So this is what the pasuk means to say: you meant to take him to Sanhedrin to follow proper procedure, and you haven't done so. The pasuk continues: his wife, you took to yourself as a wife. Now the fact that the pasuk uses the word lakachta isha, says Rebbe, we meant to learn as follows: and she was no longer an Eiseshish. She was no longer legally married to Uriah since she had received her get. And that's what the word lakachta is referring to. Likuchen yesh lachaba. You have the ability to perform likuchen, to acquire her through kedushin, which is something which won't work with an Eiseshish. So apparently the fact that the Torah refers to her as an Isha, in which you can have likuchen, you can acquire her through kedushin, apparently she's not an Eiseshish any longer. Why is that? Why was she not considered to be Uriah's wife? Says the Gemara as follows: the Omar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani Omar V'Yonasan. This was the common practice. Whoever joined the war in Beis David, in the household of David, this is what he would do. he would write a get, a bill of divorce, and send it to his wife. So he would do it either before going out to the battlefield, or sometimes it would happen later on. They would send a get from the battlefield. Now, what's the point of doing that? Rashi explains, for fear that perhaps he will be captured, they won't know his whereabouts, and his wife will be in Aguna, or to avoid the Yibum, perhaps if they had no children, so he wanted to give her a get so she can be divorced and not be bound to him any longer. So this was the practice. They would send a get. How do we know that? Shenemar, as we find in the pasuk, V'esaseres chalitza chalav. This is Yishai, the father of David, who sent David out to the battlefield to his brothers. He said, "Go ahead, take aseres chalitza chalav. Go take the 10 blocks of cheese. Chalitza chalav ha'ela. These blocks of cheese. Tavil Sarah Elaf. Bring it to the Sarah Elaf. This was the master of 1,000. I mean, the general in the war. Ve'esachicha tifka d'shalom. So bring it to one of the generals, and go ahead and go greet your brothers in peace. Ve'esachicha tifka d'shalom. Go greet your brothers with peace. Go visit them on the battlefield. Ve'esaruvasam tikach. And go take aruvasam. What does aruvasam mean? My aruvasam. Tanur of Yosef. Dvorim hamuravim beinoi lebinah. This is referring to the get. And you meant to take the kedushin, nullify the kedushin. So dvorim hamuravim beinoi lebinah, the things that are mixed between the husband and wife, meaning the kedushin, you meant to annul the kedushin by taking the get from those who were present in the battlefield. Now this was the milchama conducted by the by Shaul. So we see that back in the time of Yishai, the father of David, this was the conduct, this was the practice, the common practice in the household of David HaMelech. So we presume that this practice, minhag, continued and carried on throughout the milchamas of David HaMelech himself, and therefore we presume that Uriah Chiti, when he went out and joined the milchama of David HaMelech, he also followed this minhag and divorced his wife. So apparently, Bathsheba was no longer considered to be legally married to Uriah Chiti, and as a result, when David HaMelech had relations with her, she was no longer considered to be an Eshes Ish. The pasuk continues. This is the pasuk we began with. Madua bazisas v'Hashem. The pasuk concludes by saying, "V'oiso yarakta b'cher bnei Ammon," referring back to the husband, Uriah Chiti, the husband of Bathsheba. You've killed him through the sword of Bnei Ammon. So he was sent back out to the battlefield. David HaMelech sent him out, and eventually he was killed. So the pasuk says as follows: "You killed him with cher bnei Ammon." So we expound as follows. This again is Rebbe speaking and presenting David HaMelech in a positive light. That the pasuk doesn't mean to imply that David HaMelech was responsible for his death. Rather as follows: Ma cherev b'nei Ammon iyatanen shalav. When the pasuk says you've killed him with the cherev b'nei Ammon, it's meant actually to absolve David HaMelech from his death, because the pasuk refers to cherev b'nei Ammon. What's the point of bringing b'nei Ammon here? The drasha is that just like anybody who was killed on the battlefield by b'nei Ammon, you're not responsible, you're not held accountable for that. Ma cherev b'nei Ammon, whoever was killed in the war through Ammon, iyatanen shalav, you're not held accountable. Af Uriah Chiti. The same thing regarding Uriah Chiti, even though you sent him out there, iyatanen shalav, you're not responsible for his death. Why is that? My time of why? Moirid b'malchus hava, because he rebelled. And David HaMelech, he was a moirid b'malchus. He exhibited rebellious behavior toward David HaMelech, and that is liable. That brings about the einish of Misa. Where do we find that? The Amarle, because Uriah Hachiti addressed David in this manner. V'adoini Yoav, my master Yoav, v'avdi Adoini, and your servants, David HaMelech, al pnei hasadechonim, are camping out on the field. So he related to Yoav as Adoini, my master, and this was done in the presence of David HaMelech, who was the king, and this is deemed inappropriate, considered to be moirid b'malchus, exhibiting a rebellious attitude towards the king. So indeed he was guilty of Misa. The only infraction was the fact that David HaMelech didn't follow proper procedure as taking him first to the Bezdin. Amarav, When you take a look, delve into the story of David, you will not find any chet except bar midoriya, except for this chet regarding Uriah, the chsiv rak, but dvar Uriah achiti. Because the actual misa, he was guilty of misa. It was only the point of the fact that he neglected to take him to Sanhedrin. Regarding the ma'isa with Bathsheba, that wasn't considered to be a chet, as the Gemara told us. She was already after having received a get, and she was no longer married to Uriah. Continues the Gemara, Abayik Shisha, Rami, the Rav of the Rav. Abayik Shisha would asked a contradiction between Rav on another Rav. Miyamar Rav Hachi. Is that true that Rav told us that the only infraction was regarding Uriah? Va'amar Rav, we find it elsewhere. Rav said, Kibel David Lashon Hara. He was guilty of being makabel, accepting slander Lashon Hara, as the Gemara will explain soon. So he was guilty of another infraction. Kashi, indeed, this is difficult. Gufa, we just learned, Rav Amar Kibel David Lashon Hara. What do we find that he was makabel Lashon Hara chsiv? This is the time where Shaul and his sons were killed, and David was looking to do chesed, to find somebody from the household of a descendant of Shaul, to grant him the field, the inheritance from of Shaul. So he was looking for somebody, and there was an individual named Tziva. Now Tziva was a servant in the household of Shaul, and the David asked him, "Is there anybody left over, any survivor?" And Tziva says, "Yes, there's actually somebody. His name is Mephibosheth. He's the son of Yehonasan." Where is he? Hine, who beis Mocher ben Amiel. He's in the house of Bachar ben Amiel. Beloi Dover. The Gemara darshans that the Beloi Dover was a message conveyed by Tziva that Loi Dover, he has nothing in him. He's not a Talmud Chacham. He's an ignoramus. He's not worth much. Uksiv, but then it says, Vayishtach HaMelech, Vayikacheyu, Mi Beis Mocher ben Amiel, Miloi Dover. So the king went and brought him from the home of Mocher ben Amiel, and as the Farshim point out, contrary to Tziva's description of him being an ignoramus, he actually found to be a great Talmud Chacham. Says what Mirti. So now let's ponder here. Chazi de Shikru. So never felt so clearly that Tziva was lying to him. Ki Hadar Alshin later on, phase 2 of the story, which we will soon get up to, when he again spoke Lashon Hara about him, when Tziva slandered Mephibosheth, why my time of Kibbul B'nai? Why did David HaMelech accept it? Take his word for granted. He knew that he was a liar. The Chsiv, as it says in the pasuk, Vayomer al Melech Tziva. This was when David HaMelech was escaping from his son Avshalom. So he noticed Tziva and he told him, Ayeh ben Adonech, where is the son of your master? Referring to Mephibosheth. Where is he? How come he's not joining us? Is he not on our side? Vayomer Tziva al Melech. Tziva told the king, actually not. Hine Yoshiv Yerushalayim, he's sitting in Yerushalayim, as the pasuk concludes. He's waiting. He's saying, Ki Omar Hayoim Yoshivuli Beis Yisrael Eis Mamluchos Avi. Klal Yisrael will return to me the kingship of my father, meaning he's totally opposed to you being king. So this was Lashon Hara that Tziva spoke about Mephibosheth, that he's not on your side. Umnolan de Kibu Minei. How do we know that David HaMelech accepted and believed his words? The Chsiv, as it says, Vayomer HaMelech, Hine lecha kol ashel Mephibosheth. So the point was that David HaMelech initially was trying to hand over the inheritance, the nachla, the field that belonged to the family of Shaul. He wanted to find a survivor and wanted to grant it to Mephibosheth. But now that he heard Lashon Hara about him, that Mephibosheth actually opposes his position, he opposes the malchus of David. As a result of that, he turned to Tziva and he says, you know what? You can take the inheritance. I bowed them to HaMelech, I found favor in your eyes. So you see that David HaMelech was mekabel Lashon Hara about Mephibosheth. And indeed, according to Rav, this is also a sin attributed to David HaMelech. As Rashi points out, that Mephibosheth actually was not opposing David HaMelech. He was actually on David HaMelech's side, and this was merely unsubstantiated slander. Continues the Gemara. Ushmol Amar Loi Kibel David Lashon Hara. It wasn't actually a chet of being Mekabel Lashon Hara. Why? Because Dvar Manikarim Chazabeh. It wasn't unsubstantiated Lashon Hara. David HaMelech himself saw Dvar Manikarim, that Mephibosheth himself exhibited a certain mode of behavior, which was indicative indeed of his opposition to David HaMelech. Where do we find that? Once again, like Kibel David Lashon Hara, he wasn't guilty of the chet of Lashon Hara, because Dvar Manikarim Chazabeh. He discerned in Mephibosheth's behavior indications of opposition to David HaMelech. The Chsiv, as it says. This was when David HaMelech was returning to Yerushalayim, when he came back, and he noticed Mephibosheth ben Shol, Yorad, Lefnei HaMelech, so he came before the king, Lo Yasa Raglav. He didn't wash his feet, Lo Yasa Sfamai, didn't trim his mustache, his brother like Kibes, didn't wash his clothing, so he came across very haggard and unkempt, unfit for David HaMelech. It appeared like he was upset by the fact that David HaMelech was being reinstated. Uksiv, and it says, so when he came in Yerushalayim towards the king, so David HaMelech told him, why initially, when I was running away from Absalom, why didn't you join us? Why didn't you come with me? So Mephibosheth responds, he says, I master the king. You know why? I really wanted to join you. Avdi Rimani, my servant Siva actually is guilty of that. He fooled me, he tricked me. Ki amar avdecha echba shaliach amar. Because I said, I ordered him to go strap up, prepare the donkey. Ve'erkav aleh, and I can ride on it. Ve'elech al-melech. So prepare the donkey so I should be able to ride on it and join the king. So to come to the king and join you. Why? Keep his seyach avdecha. Because I'm lame, I can't walk. But Siva didn't follow instructions. He didn't prepare the horse for me. The donkey. Vayiragel ba'avdecha el adoni hamelech. And he forced me to go by foot, which I couldn't do. Vayiragel on foot. So he compelled me to walk with you, to walk to the king, which I couldn't do. So that's the reason why I refrained from joining you. It was practically impossible. It was actually his fault. It wasn't mine. My master the king, is of such high stature, like a malach lakim, and do as you see fit. Why speak any longer? Amarti, I said, you and Tziba split the field, meaning that initially, as we said, he wanted to grant the field to Mephibosheth. Tziba expressed Lashon Hara regarding Mephibosheth, as though he opposed David HaMelech. And now, Mephibosheth justifies his actions. He says, no, I'm on your side. I simply was practically disabled from joining you. Now, David HaMelech was kind of stuck. He had a conflicting report. Here, Mephibosheth is saying, I'm on your side. I was on your side. And here we have Tziva, who presented it otherwise. So he said, okay, split it. You take half, and Tziva take half. He was very upset, and he responded harshly. He said, go give everything away to Tziva, I don't need it. As a result of the fact that you returned home in peace. And this was a harsh expression towards David HaMelech, as the Gemara explains. He told him, I have said all along, Masai, Tavei B'Shalom. I was looking forward, I was anticipating your peaceful return. You being reinstated as king. And now you do this to me. You regard me as a rebel. I'm not complaining. I have no complaints against you. I have complaints against Hashem, so to speak, the one who brought you back in peace. On account of these words, of these harsh words, of arousing a machlekes and a quarrel, the pasuk says, "Uben Yehonasan." Mephibosheth was the son of Yehonasan, Meir of Baal. His name is Meir of Baal. Says Gemara, is that his name? V'chi Meir of Baal shmoi? Well, Mephibosheth shmoi. Elo, the pasuk is teaching us, Mitoch she'asa meriva in Balav. Since he initiated a quarrel with Balav, with Hashem, he complained about the fact that Hashem allowed David HaMelech to return in peace. Yotzah baskal v'amrloi. A baskal, a heavenly voice, called out and said to him, Natza bar Natza, Natza means one who initiates a quarrel, a machlekes. You are Natza bar Natza, the son of a individual who also made machlekes. Natza hodamran, the fact that he was referred to as a quarreler, as we just explained, because he initiated a quarrel between him and Hashem. What do we find? That bar Natza, he was the son of a quarreler. Chsiv, regarding Shaul, who was actually his grandfather, Vayavei Shaul adir Amalek, he came to the city of Amalek. He had a mitzvah to kill out all of Amalek, and he refrained from doing so. He didn't want to kill out the Ketana, the youngsters. Vayorev banachal, and he initiated a meriva, a quarrel, a machlekes banachal, in the river, in the ravine. Now, what does this mean? Omer of money al iske nachal. This is regarding the concept of a nachal. What does that mean? Says Rashi all the way on top, the first line of Rashi, al iske nachal. Now we know that there's a mitzvah of egla rufa. If we find a person who was murdered, the Torah says, we don't know who the murderer is, bring a egla rufa, a calf, as a sort of a carbon to be mechaper on this murder. Said Shaul HaMelech, Uma al nefesh achas. If we see regarding even one soul, Amra Torah Hava Egla Rufa, a yid is so special, a nefesh is so special. We're meant to bring an Egla Rufa on account of even one nefesh. Amra Torah Hava Egla Rufa b'nachal, meant to bring it in a nachal. Nefashas halalo, these nefashes of Amalek, alachas kama v'kama, certainly I meant to spare them. Im g'dolim chatu, if the g'dolim, the mature ones, sinned, k'tana machatu, why the children guilty? Therefore, he didn't want to kill out the children of Amalek. So this was regarded as a meriva, a quarrel with Hashem, because he was defying the word of Hashem. So indeed, this was something which sort of ran in the family. He was Mephibosheth was one who initiated machlekes, the grandson of Shaul, who the pasuk regards as one who initiated machlekes. Omar Vidamarav, Bishosh Amar David Mephibosheth. At that point in time, when David turned to Mephibosheth and said, Ata v'tziba, Techalkos hasada, you and Tziba will split the field. Tachalkos hasada, Yotza Baskal v'Amalei, Ruchavam v'Yeravam Yechalkos hamlucha. As a result of this, as a result of him accepting Lashon Hara, the evil slander presented by Tziba regarding Mephibosheth, being opposed, being aligned with, against David HaMelech by being makawel at Lashon Hara, which, as explained earlier, apparently was unsubstantiated and not true, because Mephibosheth indeed sided with David HaMelech. He was aligned with David HaMelech. So by accepting this Lashon Hara, we incurred the following einish. The Baskal says, you split the field here, you regard him somewhat as a rebel, you will incur the following einish. Ruchavam v'Yeravam yechalkos hamlucha. Your descendant Ruchavam, and Yeravam will split up the kingdom amongst Klal Yisrael. Ruchavam was the Melech Yehuda. Yeravam initiated the Malchus Yisrael. So the Melucha was split up. This was Midah Keneged Midah, splitting as a result of splitting. Amar B'Yehuda Marav, Ilmole, Lo Kibul David Lashon Hara. If David HaMelech would not have accepted this Lashon Hara regarding Mephibosheth, Lo Yinechel Kol Malchus David, the kingdom of David, the Malchus David, would never have split up. V'lo Ya'av the Yisrael Avodah Zarah, and Klal Yisrael have not served Avodah Zarah. What's the connection here? Explains Rashi once again. Rashi up on the third line from the top. V'lo Ya'av the Yisrael Avodah Zarah. Why? Shal Yidei Shenechel Kol Malchus. When the Malchus was split, Hemid Yeravam HaGolam. Yeravam, who was the Melech Yisrael, he wanted to prevent, to discourage Klal Yisrael from going up to Yerushalayim, which was under the jurisdiction of Rechavam. He wanted to prevent that. So what did he do? He was Mamid Agolim. He established golden calves to divert Klal Yisrael from going Aliyah L'Regel to Yerushalayim. Shelo Yelu Yisrael Yerushalayim L'Mem Shalta Shel Rechavam. So he did it simply to prevent him from going to Yerushalayim. So we see that one thing led to the next. The splitting of the Malchus and Yeravam's establishment of his kingdom, which brought him to do this heinous act, this establishing of Avodah Zarah. So Klal Yisrael won't go to Yerushalayim. So one led to the next, and eventually, the consequence was V'lo Yolidim Artzeinu, the Klal Yisrael was exiled from Eretz Yisrael. So once again, if not for the fact that David HaMelech did his thing, the Malchus would have been split. And as a result, Klal Yisrael would not have been exiled from Eretz Yisrael. So in summary, regarding David HaMelech, the Gemara says, David loy chata, he did not commit the Aveir with Bathsheba, bikesh lachtoi. He desired, but in actuality, she was no longer considered to be an Eshes Ish, since she has received a get from her husband, the Uriah Chiti. Now, what misdeeds did David HaMelech commit? We have machlekes. According to Rav, there was the misdeed regarding Uriah Chiti, as the Gemara says, he should have done the proper procedure of taking him through the Sanhedrin, rather than just causing him to get killed through the Bnei Ammon. However, he was surely guilty of Misa as a result of him being murdered of Malchus. According to Rav, there was an additional misdeed of Yimekabel Lashon Hara regarding Mephibosheth. Shmuel maintains the only chet is Uriah, because Shmuel holds that there was nothing wrong with being Mekabel, with believing that Mephibosheth was opposed to him, because he noticed Dvarim Anikarim, his ways and actions were clearly indicative of the fact that he was unhappy with David HaMelech's kingdom, the fact that he came unkempt, haggard, and in a disrespectful manner to David HaMelech. Therefore, the fact that David believed, indeed, that Mephibosheth was against him, wasn't a chet. It was fully substantiated. Continues the Gemara. Omar of Shmuel Rachmeni, Omar of Yonason. Let's move on to Shlomo HaMelech. One who maintained that Shlomo HaMelech committed the chet, the sin of Avodah Zarah, he's simply making a mistake. Shenamar, as we find in the pasuk, so his heart, Shlomo HaMelech's heart, was not complete with Hashem, Kilevav David Aviv, just as the heart of his father David. So he wasn't such a great tzaddik. Kilevav David Aviv, Huda Leihava. He didn't achieve the same greatness as David HaMelech. But certainly, Mechta Nami Lechata doesn't mean to say that he did an Avera, that he was over the Zarah. Elo, if so, Mani Mekayim. How am I going to explain the following pasuk? When Shlomo became older, no shav hitus lavavai. His wives, they swayed his heart. Apparently, it seems like they swayed his heart to do Avodah Zarah. Says Murno. That pasuk is meant to interpret as follows. Rav Nasan Rami. He has the following steer. It says, Ksiv, Vahile zikna shloimai, no shav hitus lavavai. So one pasuk says that, yes, his wife swayed his heart, it turns his heart towards Avodah Zarah. But then it says, V'ksiv, Kilevav David Aviv. So we have the other pasuk which tells us that actually it's the conclusion of this pasuk. The pasuk tells us that Loihoya Levavi Shalom Hashem Elakav Kilevav David Aviv. So we seem to have a contradiction here. The beginning of the pasuk seems to describe Shlomo Melech as having turned towards Avodah Zarah. The conclusion of the pasuk says, well, he wasn't on the same madrega level as his father. We have an apparent contradiction. Did he do Avodah Zarah? Did he not do Avodah Zarah? Was it a Avodah Zarah? Or was it simply that he wasn't the same madrega? He wasn't as righteous as David, but certainly Avodah Zarah he didn't commit. Says the Gemara. Again, we have one pasuk which says, we have the other part of the pasuk which says, V'ksiv, Kilevav David Aviv. Kilevav David Aviv, Huda Leihava. The pasuk implies that he didn't have the same greatness. He didn't have the same complete heart with Hashem like his father David. But Mechten Am Lechata, but certainly he didn't do Avera. So how do we reconcile the first part of the pasuk with the second part of the pasuk, V'ksiv Kilevav David Aviv, which indicates that he didn't do Avodah Zarah? Says the Gemara Hachikamar. This indeed is the meaning of the pasuk. Vahile zikna shloimai, nashav hitos levavai. When Shlomo became older, his wives, he swayed his heart leleches achrei lemachim, so he should follow and serve idols. Avodah Zarah. It says leleches, to serve. They tempted him, v'lo yeholach, but in reality, he certainly did not follow. He did not serve Avodah Zarah. Continues the Gemara, V'aksiv. It doesn't say Oz Yivnei Shloimei. Bama Shlomo Melech built a bama, an altar for the Avodah Zarah, for which Avodah Zarah, Lichmoish, that was the name of Avodah Zarah, Lichmoish Shikutz Moyav, was the Avodah Zarah of Moyav. So he said the Shlomo Melech did build a bama for Avodah Zarah. Says no. Yivna doesn't mean he built. He wanted to build. He was tempted to build. Shebikesh livna is leibana. Ela me'ata. If so, that we meant to translate Yivna as something which never actually happened. Ela me'ata az Yivna Yeshua mizbeach Hashem. When Shlomo Melech, when Yeshua was Yivna, wanted to build a mizbeach Hashem in Har Evel, and it actually happened. You mean to say it was only an initiation, it was only a plan, he only had a desire to do so? So if you're going to interpret Yivna as referring to something which didn't actually happen, does that mean that Yeshua also didn't build this Mizbeach? And we know that's not to be so. Ella the Bana, he certainly built it. Hacha Nami the Bana here too, when it says Yivna Shleimai, it means to say that he actually built it. Says more Ella Kedesanya. We must interpret this pasuk as Yivna Shleimai, not in a literal sense, as we find in the following price. Rabbi Yosef, all the bamas, these mizbechas, these altars for the Avodah Zarah, Asher Pnei Yerushalayim, who are near Yerushalayim, Asher Mimin Har Mishcha, on the right side of the Har Zeisim, so they were facing Yerushalayim, the right side of Har Zeisim. Asher Pana Shloima Melech Yisrael, that Shloima, the king of Yisrael, built La'ashterois, La'ashteris, to this Avodah Zarah called Ashteris Shikutz Tzidonim. Who was Avodah Zarah Tzidonim? So the pasuk indeed tells us that these abomas, which were built by Shlomo, who eradicated them, it was actually Yeshayahu HaMelech who eradicated all these Avodah Zarah. He destroyed them. Says in 1 second, how could it be that these Avodah Zarah, these abomas, survived the king Asa, who also was involved in destroying Avodah Zarah? How could they have survived the reign of Yeshafat HaMelech, who also was involved in eradicating Avodah Zarah? How could they have survived throughout all these generations? Efshar, can it be Asa v'leibirim? Asa was involved in Bimavir, cleaning out the Avodah Zarah. He didn't address these, the ones that were built by Shlomo years earlier. How could it be that when Yeshafat came along, and he also was involved in destroying the Avodah Zarah, he ignored these, he neglected to clean out these Avodah Zarah? Yeshafat v'leibirim, ahad shabo Yeshia v'birim. How could it be that these bamis, which were erected way back by Shlomo HaMelech, survived King Asa, survived King Yeshafat, until Yeshua came along and he got the opportunity to destroy them? It can't be so. V'aloi, we know Kol Avodah Zarah, all the Avodah Zarah in Yisrael, Asa v'Yeshafat birum. Asa and Yeshafat destroyed them. So how can it be that these bamis, supposedly erected by Shlomo HaMelech way back, survived and lasted up until King Yeshua? Ella, the pasuk is not to be taken literally. The pasuk is simply crediting Yeshua HaMelech with destroying these Avodah Zarah that were erected by the time of Shlomo HaMelech. Since he was involved in destroying Avodah Zarah, so he completed the process, and he was credited even with destroying those Avodah Zarah, even though literally he didn't do it. Practically, he didn't do it. So he finished the process, finished the procedure. Therefore, he's credited with Avodah Zarah that were around before him, and we attribute it to him as well. It's as though he destroyed them as well. If so, says the Gemara, Ella, Makish Rishayim Lachrim. The pasuk is connecting the early ones with the later ones. What does this mean? We're connecting the Achronim, Yeshua, who was credited with destroying those bamis. We connect him to Rishonim, to Shlomo HaMelech, who allegedly erected those bamis. And they're both not to be taken literally. Meaning as follows. Ma Achronim, just like Yeshua lo yasa v'tol ben l'shvach, even though he didn't practically destroy those Avodah Zarah, nevertheless, he was credited with destroying them. Tol ben l'shvach. Af Rishonim. Similarly, when the pasuk attributes the building of those bamis to Shlomo HaMelech, lo yasu, they didn't do it. He didn't practically build it. V'tol ben l'gnai. However, the Torah the pasuk attributes those avodah zaros to the Rishayim, to Shlomo Melech. It says, though he built them. So the pasuk here is not literally. The pasuk, when describing Shlomo Melech building those bamais, doesn't mean that he actually built them. Just as when the pasuk credits the destruction of those bamais to Yoshia, it wasn't meant to be taken literally because he didn't actually destroy them. He simply was credited with that destruction, and similarly Shlomo Melech was held accountable for the building of those avodah zaros, those bamais, even though he didn't himself do it. It says, well, what do you mean? Vaksiv vayash lemei hara b'nei Hashem. He himself did ra in Hashem's eyes. Ella, what it means is as follows: since he had the ability to be moicha, to rebuke his wives, to give them teichacha, to probably prevent them from doing avodah zarah, and he refrained from doing so. Malol of akosim, to regards him, kiluchat as though he himself served avodah zarah. So certainly Shlomo Melech was not guilty of avodah zarah, but nevertheless, the fact that he didn't offer teichacha, reproof, rebuked his wives, did not seek to prevent them from doing avodah zarah. Torah regards it and attributes the chet of avodah zarah to him as well. It is so important to exercise one's influence on others, to offer teichacha. Says the Gemara, it would have been better for Shlomo HaMelech that even if he would have been employed to serve avodah zarah, not actually to be avodah zarah, but to serve avodah zarah, to draw water for the avodah zarah, to chop wood for the avodah zarah, that would have been a better situation. Va'al yikasaboy vayas rabbein Hashem. As long as the Torah doesn't attribute these words to him, vayas rabbein Hashem, on account of his neglecting to offer teichacha, refraining from being mechiach the nashim who did avodah zarah, because even physically, practically engaging in servicing avodah zarah, drawing water, chopping wood for the zarah, is not as severe as sitting back. Even though you're not doing anything, you're merely sitting back, but refraining from offering teichacha to those who are doing avodah zarah. Continues the Gemara. Omar Bidam Shmuel. B'shah shenas Shlomo Baspar. At the point in time when Shlomo Melech married Baspar, the Farshim explains that he sought to include everything into kedusha, into holiness, and therefore he married Baspar. Nevertheless, the Torah holds him accountable for it. At that point in time, she brought in 1,000 different types of instruments. She told him, this is what we're meant to use for this avodah zarah. And this instrument is meant to be used in this manner for the other avodah zarah. And he did not offer her teichacha, rebuked her. The point in time when Shlomo Melech married Baspar, Yorad Gavriel, so Gavriel HaMalach descended, V'noatz kona b'yam, he stuck a reed into the ocean, and what happened? V'olah b'sirtein, refuse, mud, gathered around this reed, and it accumulated slowly but surely. It developed into this great big island. V'olah v'nivne, krach gadol sharemi, eventually this large city, this large Roman city, was built on this island. So this was merely as a result of the Avera, of the Chet, at the point when Shlomo Melech married Baspar. So you see that the power of the Romans, their whole ability, they pressed us, sent us into Gullus. It all comes as a result of our Averas, our misdeeds. As soon as we address our fears, they will lose their power entirely. Masnisatana, and in Brisa we learned, that day Sheikhnis Yeravam Shnei Egleizov, when Yeravam the king brought in the 2 golden calves of avodah zarah, Echad, one of them bebeisel, ve'echad, the other one bedan. What happened as a result of that? That indeed empowered the Goyim, and this island, which was developed through the Kana B'Yam, through this reed of Gavriel. This right now took on the form of an inhabited place. Nibnet Srif Echad. On that day, the first small shack, was built on that island, which eventually developed into this great city, described earlier, this Krach Gadol Shorem. What is the name of the city? Vizeu Italia. The name of the city is Italia Shal Yavan, of Greece. As Rashi points out, initially it was part of Greece. Eventually, the Romans took over, and it became the Krach Gadol Shel Romi. Omar Rav Shmuel Rochena Rav Yonasan. So we just concluded that Shlomo Melech, although he himself did not commit Avodah Zarah, but he refrained from offering teichacha reproof to his wives who served Avodah Zarah. The Gemara will proceed now with the King Yeshio. Kala'imer Yeshio chata. Whoever maintains that Yeshio did an avera ein elatoya, he's simply making a mistake. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Vayas hayosher b'nei Hashem, Yeshua Melech did what was righteous in the eyes of Hashem. Vayelech b'chol derech David Aviv. He followed entirely in the ways of his father David HaMelech. He was a great tzaddik. If so, Elamani Mekayim. How do I explain the following pasuk? V'kamoyu lohoy lefan of Melech. Before him there was no king. Asher shav el Hashem, who returned to Hashem, or did tshuva. V'chol avavai v'chol nafshach ma'oidai. Apparently he did tshuva. Apparently he did averis. Says the Gemara, no. It's referring to an entirely different topic. What happened was that he was installed as king when he was merely 8 years old. And he settled many financial matters between people. He passed many judgments. And now when he turned 18, Rashi explains, they found a sefer which allowed them to delve deeper into Torah. And he was concerned, perhaps, he didn't have the proper clarity in Torah Shebechsav, in Torah Shebal Peh. And therefore he was concerned that perhaps he erred in his judgments. So he wanted to address that. He wanted to undo those wrongdoings. As the Gemara says, Shekol din shedon, every judgment that he passed me ben shmoina ad shmoina esrei. So every matter that he settled from when he was 8 up until the age of 18, he returned the money. How did he do that? Shema toimer, so you'll say, notom mizem nasl zeh. So he took back the money from this person, gave it back to the other person. For instance, it's Reuven and Shimon. So the psak was that Reuven owes money to Shimon, and he paid Shimon the money. So now Yeshio retracted that. He went to Shimon, took back the money, and gave back to Reuven. No, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. Talmud Loimar, the pasuk tells us, b'chol ma'oidai, he returned to Hashem not just b'chol vav, b'chol nafshay, b'chol ma'oidai, with all his money. Shenas lam shaloi, he laid out his own money. He let Shimon keep his money. He laid out his own money. He took from his own funds and returned money to Reuven. This is the way he addressed the possibility of his wrongdoing when he settled the financial cases. So certainly he didn't do avera. He didn't require tshuva. When it says that he was shav, it means that he returned. He undid all those verdicts, those dinei Torah, for concern that perhaps he was in error. Says in this opinion that Yeshua Melech did not do a chet, upligad Rav. This is in dispute to Shitas Rav, who holds that he did do. Dama Rav ein lecha gadol v'bali tshuva. There's no greater bali tshuva yoser miYeshua b'dayr, greater than Yeshua in his generation. Ve'echav dereinu, and another person in our generation. Manu, who was he? Abba, his name was Abba, who was the father of Abba, the Abba. So he was also a great bali tshuva. Ve'amel, some say his name was Acha, who was the brother of Abba, the father of Rav Yirmiyah Abba. Ve'amel, some say was Acha. He was the name of the Baal Shuva. Achua, he was the brother of Abba, who was the father of Rav Yirmiyah Abba. So either was Rav Yirmiyah Abba's father, whose name was Abba, or was his uncle, whose name was Acha. Damar, we learned Rabbi Abba va'Acha Achi Abba. They were brothers. So it was either Rabbi Abba or Acha. Amar Yosef, there's actually another one. There's another individual in our Dor, who is the greatest Baal Tshuva in our Dor, Manoi, who is the Ukvan Bar Nechemya, Reish Gelus. Vahainu is also referred to as Nasan the Tzutzisa. Nasan the Tzutzisa is referring to a flame, a candle, as Tosfos brings from a medrash that Shoyanir Dolak al Roshai. There was a candle, a spiritual candle, which was burning on his head on account of the fact that he did tshuva. He was tempted to do navera, and he restrained himself, and he did tshuva, and he was zeicha to this ner al roshei. Amar Yosef, Have Yosef in a pick. I was sitting by the shiur, and I was dozing off, and you know what I saw? I saw in a dream that a malach stretched out his hand to accept the tshuva of this individual, of Ukram Nechemya, of Nasan Tzutzisa. Now what exactly took place there? So there's a Rashi in Sanhedrin who brings a medrash who says like this: that Mar Ukva was about tshuva. What happened? Nosan eina b'isha achas. He placed his eyes on a certain woman. He got sick with passion. She was a married woman. Eventually, she was desperate for funds. She came to borrow money from him. Out of desperation, she agreed to do avera with him. He restrained himself. He sent her away in peace. In the srapa, he was healed from his passion, from his sickness. And as a result of this tshuva, even though he tempted himself, he initially wanted to do avera, and he restrained himself, so he did tshuva for that desire, for initiating this process, and this tremendous tshuva that he accomplished resulted in the fact that when you got to the marketplace, there was a ner burning on his head min hashamayim. On account of this, Kurle of Nasan Tzutzisa. And now Gemara we refer to him as Nasan Tzutzisa on account of the candle which was burning over his head. So in summary, regarding Shlomo Melech, he certainly did not do Avodah Zarah. However, he was not moicha when his wives did Avodah Zarah. Yeshua Melech, we have a machlekes. According to one opinion, he did not do chet. According to the other opinion of Rav, he did chet, but he did a tremendous tshuva and is considered regarded as the greatest Baal tshuva in his generation. Okay, time for a brief chazorah of today's daf. We began with the Bnei Shmuel. The pasuk describes them as vayitu. They swayed, they turned achrei abatza. They went after the money and financial gain. According to one view in the Gemara, it wasn't considered to be bribery, although inappropriate. Lo chatu. According to the other view in the Gemara, yes, what they did was inappropriate and constituted sheichad, the taking of bribery, because it affected their judgment. The Gemara proceeded with David leichata with Bathsheba, since she wasn't an Eish, she was already divorced. According to Rav, the misdeed was the fact that Uriah Chita was not brought before the Sanhedrin. In addition to that, he also accepted Lashon Hara from Tziba. According to Shmuel, Lashon Hara was not a chet, only the fact that Uriah was not brought before the Sanhedrin. The Gemara proceeded with Shlomo HaMelech. He was not chayte with Avodah Zarah, but merely he refrained from providing macha, criticizing and rebuking his women who were Avodah Zarah. Regarding Yeshua HaMelech, according to one shita, he was loichata. According to the other shita, yes, he was chayta, but he was about tshuva, and he was the greatest in his generation. The Gemara concluded with the story of Nasan Tzutzisa, who brought himself to a situation of temptation, but then restrained himself and did tshuva, and was able to have a candle burning on his head.